Thanks, guys. A group of Muslims from Halifax say there's a lot of misconceptions about the hijab and the women who wear them. They came together to change that.
We're not oppressed. You don't have to pity us. We're not forced.
They organized Hijab Day Halifax and encouraged everyone to try one. There's also a panel discussion to educate participants about the hijab. It's a head covering some Muslim women wear to show modesty. Madison Holmans was a member of the panel and an event organizer. She says she hopes the event will change people's perception about the head covering.
Maybe they'll understand a little bit better. Maybe when they see somebody in their class or at their work wearing a hijab, they'll be more inclined to speak to that person and not feel like, oh, she's different, I'm just going to stay over here and not say anything to her.
All the hijabs were donated from the community, and everyone who tried one got to keep it. Some people with disabilities and their families say there's not enough assisted living housing in Nova Scotia. The provincial government promised to address the problem several years ago, but as Kristen Brown tells us, it's only gotten worse.
That's right, Ellen. 3 years ago, the Department of Community Services announced changes to their disability support program. Among those changes were the phasing out of large institutions and funding for residential housing. I spoke with one family who says they haven't seen any changes at all. In many ways, 26-year-old Brendan Anderson is like any other young adult. He works and enjoys spending time on the computer and with his girlfriend. But Brendan was born with Down syndrome, and that is made for some special challenges.
Oh, it's a struggle.
Pam Anderson is Brendan's mother. She spends much of her time caring for her son.
There's a lot of challenges. He can't be left alone. He's not self-sufficient. I mean, he can do his own thing, but we're worried.
That's why 5 years ago, Anderson put Brendan on a wait list for housing for people with disabilities. But she hasn't heard a thing.
I think the wait list is just far too long, or at least give us some hope of that, oh, well, maybe in the next year he could go in, or give us some kind of understanding that he's going to get in there.
In 2013, the Department of Community Services admitted that the wait list was a concern. At the time, the list stood at 951 people in the province. Now that number has climbed to more than 1,100.
It's not something that can be done quickly.
Lorna McPherson is the director of the Disability Support Program for the province.
Improvements that we are making in the program are to, number one, address the waitlist situation, but a big part of that is around developing policies and programs that are more flexible.
McPherson says despite the growing wait list, the province takes the problem seriously.
This is considered a priority, and while that may not offer the hope that families need to hear right now, it does mean that there is recognition.
For Brendan Anderson, moving to residential housing means a coming of age. He says he's ready for the next chapter in his life.
I'm not a little boy no more. Being a man, because from my mom and dad and my grandparents.
He might be 30, 35 before he gets in there. Well, we're getting older. He needs to get in there. They need to, I don't know what they have to do, but they got to get on it and figure it out.
Also, Ellen, Pam Anderson says there are a number of issues that need to be addressed in the system, like the number of group homes and funding. Anderson says that she's hopeful that Brendan will get into residential housing someday soon.
Thanks, Kristen. 300 delegates from around the world gathered for the 7th annual Halifax International Security Forum over the weekend. The Westin Nova Scotian hosted the forum to discuss worldwide threats and ways to deal with them. A major topic on this year's agenda was whether or not countries should accept Syrian refugees. Many citizens want Canada to take in the refugees, but are a little apprehensive after the terrorist attacks in Paris.
No, it's a hard topic because it's heartbreaking to see what those people are going through, but I still want it to be us to live in a protected world. So as long as they can bring them here and with the most secure way of finding out that everything's okay.
The new Defence Minister, Harjit Sajjan, spoke at the security forum. He says the Canadian government will stay true to its word and accept 25,000 Syrian refugees as promised. Sajjan says he expects refugees to arrive by January. A woman from Halifax has started a new campaign to help make people who live on the streets more comfortable this winter. Caitlin Ferguson created a Facebook group called A Bag of Hope Homeless Outreach just over a week ago, and she already has close to 500 members. Ferguson is new to the HRM and says she got the idea for the group when she and her boyfriend were walking downtown.
We came across some homeless people, and I remember that we had a blanket in the truck, so we went and got it and got him a coffee, and we brought it back and just went home that night and realized that there's people out there that need help.
Ferguson has set up drop-off locations around Halifax so it's easier for people to donate, such as this Superstore parking lot. They're accepting blankets, winter gear, toiletries, and non-perishable food items. All the items will be put into bags that will be given out to people on the streets. Ferguson says she's planning on distributing 40 bags this week and will continue the project next year. It was the 20th anniversary of the Chronicle Herald's holiday Parade of Lights on Saturday. To mark the occasion, a new event was added to the festivities. The Red Nose Run is a 2.5-kilometer route that starts 15 minutes before the parade. Organizers wanted more fitness in the parade, and the timing worked because the roads were already closed off. Grant Walker's the race director. He says it sold out more than 2 weeks before the run.
We capped it at 500 because we want to, experiment a little bit with this concept, and I would suspect if it's successful as we plan, there'd be more than 500 next year.
Runners were cheered on by thousands of parade spectators who showed up despite the rain. The Red Nose Run raised $2,500 for Feed Nova Scotia. Organizers say they're hoping to make this a new parade tradition. That's it for your WTV News. Back to you, John and Alacia.